Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. I am Kevin Roberts, getting ready to go over this showdown slate over at DraftKings for Tuesday evening between the Knicks and the Pacers. So that alone should have your interest. And there's also a two-game slate. I'm not going to go over the two-game slate in this video. If you are a member of our Discord and want any help with the two-game slate, feel free to come hit me up in there. To do that, if you want to be in there, you got to pay $5.99 over on Patreon to get access to the Discord, as well as all of our finalized picks, advice, strategy, what have you. The picks have been really good lately. Obviously, picks are only going to get you so far. You have to kind of carry it the rest of the way. Use a good lineup tool as well. Roto Grinders is the one we use here for projections. But I mean, UFL, MMA picks have been really good. MLB pitcher picks and stacks have also been very strong. So if you're in there, I can tell you that everybody is helping each other, and our picks in the top plays and everything also are helping. So hopefully we can continue doing that. Showdown is a different beast. It's just a nuanced thing where, nothing is guaranteed. And you kind of have to have the perfect lineup. You got to get the captain right, and then you have to hit your flex plays. There's just really no wiggle room for it. And even if you do hit, what happens is you get duped. So I can say I've personally won several showdowns in the past. I just won a UFL showdown last week. And honestly, the best, quickest way to gain an edge on the field is to go away from whoever the chalky captain is. If you don't do that and you play the chalky captain, that is often fine. Like, for example, yesterday, Anthony Edwards was definitely one of the two chalkiest captains out there, and he had 28 fantasy points and totally bombed. If you played SGA in the captain, you certainly could have gotten there because he crushed, and he was also pretty owned. So, it does definitely go either way. I know there was a slate one time where Taylor and I did a Bills game, and James Cook was going to be kind of popular. And we're like, we're not going to play James Cook. And James Cook scored 3 touchdowns, and we were totally cooked. That is the risk of not playing one of the chalky guys. They could absolutely nuke. And then if you have a guy that nukes at like 25%, you're in a good spot, but then you still have to hit the flex plays. So kind of try to mix all of that together as we get going here. But of course, if anything I do here does help you, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and consider joining the pack over at Patreon. Just $5.99 for everything that we offer. That, my friends, is a deal. All right, let's get into it here. The way I do showdown slates as far as the videos are concerned is I just look at the ownership and the projections. I'm going to refresh this because there was ownership there, and now it's been updated and it's kind of gone. If there's not ownership, then we'll just kind of have to have a quick conversation. Luckily, there is. So the way this series is going so far, the Pacers are up 2-1. I feel like there's a little bit of context needed there. Like, first of all, the last game easily could have dug the Knicks into a 3-0 hole, but they came back, they rallied, they made it happen. They did get a win in Indiana. And, obviously in game one, they were crushing the Pacers. They're up by like 20. Then Aaron Nesmith just goes nuts in the fourth quarter. Game goes OT. The Knicks' heart and souls just crumbled. They lost, and then they were down 2-0. So I think at this point we are headed for a series. I think, I don't think it's ever been done where a team came back from a 2-0 hole in the Eastern Conference Finals, but there's a first time for everything. The Knicks still have home court advantage here. And they're capable. They certainly can do it. All these games have been pretty competitive. They just need to find a way to, have Brunson maybe initiate offense a little bit, but not just like drain the shot clock and then just him mostly shoot the ball the whole time. He's been very, very good, but his usage rate is obviously out of control. Let's see what it's been. 33% is the lowest usage rate he's had in a game. It's actually gone down, though, and look, the lowest usage rate he had, he wasn't really that effective, but the rest of the offense got going, and they did end up winning. That said, right now, Brunson's coming in with the highest usage rate. This is a must-win game for the Knicks. If they're going to even the series, you would imagine Brunson has a lot to do with it, but judging off the usage rate going down, and looking at his ownership right now, 19%, that's pretty high for the slate. I'm not sure I fully trust this ownership projection, but it's not like it's crazy because Aaron Nesmith has been good in the series. He's only 8.1K, which is kind of cheap for a starter who's going to push for 30-plus minutes. He went off in that first game, 42 fantasy points. It's just really a price thing, though. Aaron Nesmith looks really, really good. If everybody's going to be playing Aaron Nesmith, though, that's a very easy fade for me up top. I don't mind putting him in the flex because he's 8-1 for the captain, which obviously, without even looking at his salary, tells me he's not that expensive in the in the flex. So I do like Aaron Nesmith. I just am probably not going to eat the chalk at captain. Jalen Brunson's still pushing for 20%. So it's not like you're getting a major drop in ownership there. Brunson's very expensive. He had a down game 3, and there's just a lot of ownership flocking his way. If you want to play Aaron Nesmith or Jalen Brunson at the captain, I don't have a problem with it. I think Nesmith, based on price, looks good, just not super into the ownership. And then Jalen Brunson, based off of usage and ceiling, like what other guys realistically can match him? Probably Halliburton, Siakam, maybe, Cat. Obviously, if Cat can get going, Cat's been very inconsistent. He's really been bad in the playoffs in general. Like regular season, he was a monster. Playoffs this whole time. It's crazy that the Knicks have gotten this far because he's just been a bit of a turd. But he was really bad in game 2, and they benched him for half the game, and he kind of bounced back a little bit last game. Really good in game 1, just super, super inconsistent. But long-winded way of saying I'm okay with eating chalk anytime it makes sense. Price-wise, Nesmith does make sense, and usage and ceiling-wise, Brunson also makes sense. But if those guys are going to be that popular, I'm out. Like, I don't mind pivoting or just moving Brunson to the flex and either playing Nesmith in the flex or just full-blown fading him. Like, if he's going to be 26% owned there, he's going to be very owned in the flex across the board. So the goal there would be we're betting on Aaron Nesmith to just not hit that many shots and just not completely break the slate. It's risky, but I think that makes a lot of sense on this slate. Like, he is right now the chalk that I would get away from. Good play, nothing wrong with him, but if that's where the ownership is going to be at egregious levels, that's my first move I'm going to do. A direct pivot away from Nesmith to me is going to be Andrew Nembhard. I think he ends up being a really interesting captain play. Low usage guy, but plays monster minutes. If he can actually hit his threes and maybe add in some defensive stats, the big minutes are there. Like, he's had 20 plus fantasy points in every game in this series. If Aaron Nesmith can cook, Nembhard does have that ability. They come in with basically the same projection, like both coming in with about 27 fantasy points for the projection here. And the main difference is going to be, well, Nesmith has actually just played in game 1, obviously, but also he's way cheaper by like 2,000 compared to Nembhard. But honestly, if you look at the ownership and you look at the projection, I think Nembhard is just an awesome pivot in the captain and in general in flex. You're paying a little bit more to get there, but I think that is one way to kind of flip the slate on its side right away. It's, as far as high-end guys that we want to go after, in terms of ownership, Siakam's carrying some ownership. He's been pretty good in this series. He had that awesome game 2 where he had 52 fantasy points, 36 fantasy points in game 1. That was decent. Came back down to earth in a big way last game, so that was disappointing, getting half of the production he had in the previous game. But Siakam's only 13.2K. So I don't mind playing him, but if that's where his ownership's going to be, that's not the first pacer that I'm looking to. Like I said, Nembhard as a pivot off of Nesmith, and then Halliburton. Like, Halliburton's 16.5K. He is a little bit more expensive than Siakam and the captain, but we know Halliburton has a massive ceiling, much more consistent than Siakam, 41 plus fantasy points in every game in the series. This game still is in Indiana. You would imagine Halliburton's going to show up for one of these games, whether the Knicks win or lose. I think Halliburton's going to end up having a pretty good game here. But best of all, only 10% ownership in the captain. That's kind of crazy. If everybody's going to be on Nesmith, Siakam, and even a cheap Obi Toppin here, Halliburton looks like my favorite spend-up captain right now. As far as the Knicks go, I want Cat in the captain over Brunson. I just think we know Cat has a massive ceiling. It hasn't really been reached much in the playoffs. Like, he only has one game. Yeah, in the entire playoffs, he only has one game over even 50 fantasy points. But we know he's capable. We know he can dominate the glass when he's not getting shoved around weirdly by Miles Turner and Siakam. Like, he is like getting bullied. It's really weird to see. We know he can have a high usage rate, 31% last game. He got it going again. And we know he can score the ball and shoot from 3. So he can certainly rack it up and get hot. And this is obviously a massive must-win game. So if Cat's going to be basically not unowned, but under 10%, I have a lot of interest in him. So up top right away, I would shy away from Brunson and Siakam personally. No issue playing them in the flex. But Cat and Hallie are my two spends that I really like, and then Nemhard as a pivot away from Neesmith. After that, like I don't really have anything where I'm like off limits, but there's nothing that is like super, super appealing in terms of like spending or being in the mid range. At that point, I would start looking at punts that look good. Obviously, Obi Toppin at 5.4K. He's certainly in play. He does have a roll off the bench. And like when he's out there, like he's not really getting like monster production or anything because he normally doesn't have like a crazy usage rate, certainly not in this series. But he is an explosive player. Like I when I see him play out there in the games, he looks like he's doing more than he actually is. He gets really easy, pass to the basket, easy putbacks. He's just not really like, actually shooting a ton or anything and getting like crazy minutes. So if everybody's going to play Obi Toppin, like I get it, like 5.4K, certainly a viable flex play. Just don't really see the ceiling for him to get me there. Like yesterday, I was really into Shannon because he played 13 minutes of the game prior, and I thought maybe he could get a little bit extended run. And he was 3K. Obi's cheap enough to play in the captain. Just feels more like a flex play to me, especially if he's going to be this owned. So at 11% ownership, I'm probably going away from him and looking at Mitchell Robinson instead. Like I don't know why he's not owned here. Played 28 minutes in each of the last two games, 18 plus fantasy points in those games. Non-existent usage. Like there's no denying that. Like he can go out there and play almost 30 minutes and do basically nothing. That's very possible. But he is a good point per minute guy. They will hack him and put him on the free throw line because he's not a good free throw shooter. So he has a clear path to scoring points if they do that. Plus he can rack up rebounds, blocks, and steals. So, and of course, putbacks, like the Pacers are not a good defensive team inside either. So Mitchell Robinson looks awesome as a value. The only problem is his price spiked to 9.3K. So I don't know if he's like a go-to in the captain spot anymore. Last time out for the Knicks, he was. At this point, I think he probably is just a guy I'd be way over on in the flex because obviously it's not going to be 9.3K in the flex. Other than that, I'm not seeing a ton. Like I guess TJ McConnell down here too. His price at 6K, it's really not that bad. Certainly better play than Mitchell Robinson. His minutes are cut in half basically when compared to Mitchell Robinson, but McConnell has been productive when he's out there. We know historically he's a good per minute guy. 28% usage or more in every single game. He's only going to get 14, 15 minutes, but you never know if somebody has foul trouble or if he just is out there and just absolutely smashes. I like that he's not owned at all, and he's not like really, really expensive at 6K. So I think he's interesting. Probably going to stay away from Benedict Mathurin, who is like sliding out of this rotation. I think guys like Nemhard and Neesmith are just going to have their minutes are locked in, and McConnell's role is cemented at about 15 minutes. So just no concern with those guys and not really going to go Mathurin's way. Tony Bradley was getting minutes in the last game, 14 minutes to kind of go up against the whole Cat Mitchell Robinson thing. So if Tony Bradley is going to get burned, I don't mind playing him. I just don't really think he's a captain play. There's just no ceiling there. But at 1.5K, you can go get whoever you want. So it's viable. I just think Tony Bradley is more of a flex play if he's not going to be owned. Ben Shepherd also getting a little bit of run, projecting for 14 minutes here. Had 17 minutes last game. His minutes have ticked up. Not a high usage guy at all. So once again, like I feel like these guys are kind of trappy. I would rather go and pay up a little bit or obviously all the way up instead of diving for those guys. I just don't think also I just don't think that it's like really advantageous to go completely punt with a 1.5 or 3K guy on this slate because who is like super reliably coming in for like 50, 60 fantasy points here? Brunson, perhaps, maybe Hallie, probably nobody else. So I don't even think I have to force it. I just want to have good, rock solid plays in there. And I want to have a mixture of guys I think I can trust and guys that are going to provide me some leverage. So you don't have to do the Nemhard, Halliburton, Cat approach necessarily, as long as if you eat the chalk and captain, you are doing something to get a little bit different. So to kind of get an idea of what that might be, let's look at the flex here. Aaron Neesmith is the chalkiest guy on the board. I think, again, I'm going to just go away from that in general. Like 63% is pretty high even for a showdown. I don't mind him in the flex at 5.4. I don't mind Obi at 3.6 in the flex either. I just think I personally would go a little bit underweight and find other guys, whether they're in that price range or not, to maybe give me a little bit of edge here. Miles McBride is one option, 2.8K, $800 cheaper than Obi Toppin. Benedict Mathurin, I don't think I'm really going to do that. Like I was saying, 3.2K, like he is there. I just don't feel like that is something I'm going to do. TJ McConnell would be the pivot off of Obi for me. I think that makes a lot more sense. Mitchell Robinson at 6.2K. We can get to him over Neesmith. And then Nemhard 7K, only 1.6K over Neesmith. That's like not a direct pivot as far as price is concerned. But I just feel like I would want to get over him at 33% ownership than hitting the 63% or going over on Neesmith right now. One guy I don't want to leave out is Miles Turner, 8.2K. Not super owned in the flex and not owned very much in the captain either. Miles Turner has just been rock steady. It's funny because like Cat has been kind of like around his production throughout the playoffs. The Cat's been a little bit better, obviously, but it's like they're not that far off. Miles has not like completely nuked yet, and I feel like that game is going to come at some point. Does not have a monster usage rate, but he is a good per minute guy. He's going to be out there for 30-plus minutes, and it doesn't look like he's going to be very owned. So I would certainly go over on him. I'd certainly consider him in the flex. And a couple of the guys we didn't really talk about, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and, of course, Josh Hart. I feel like Josh Hart is interesting because he's very expensive and kind of too expensive for – the fact that he got benched, but he still played 34 minutes in that game. I think he is a little bit of a dark horse at basically no ownership, even in the flex. I don't think I want to captain him at that price, but you got to look for guys who are kind of viable and are going to be, really overlooked. Mitch Robinson getting no love, even in the flex. I'd be way over on Mitchell Robinson at 6.2K. I'd be a little bit over on Josh Hart. And then Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, I think they're just okay plays. Like the prices are just about right. They're going to play monster minutes. One of them could definitely pop off. I thought it was going to be Bridges last time out. It didn't work out. You just got to take those risks at times, though, if you want to get a takedown in Showdown. All right, so hopefully that helps you out. That is going to do it for the breakdown for me personally. Just as a quick recap, Halliburton and Cat are my two favorite pay-ups. Not going to be nearly as owned as Brunson and Neesmith, apparently. And then Nemhard is my GPP. I play GPPs only anyways, especially for Showdown. But he is my favorite pivot away from Neesmith in the captain slot. But as usual, Showdown, you could do whatever you want. Like you could certainly drop a lineup in Discord and say you are captaining Cam Payne, who's projected for 2 minutes. And I would probably say, I don't think I'd really do that. But then all of a sudden Cam Payne gets minutes and goes off for 20 real points and nukes the slate because that is what happens. It's just usually total BS. And that's why people start to go away and not want to play NBA DFS come playoff time because it just is more volatile. But it also creates leverage opportunity, which can help you win if you hit when the variance strikes and goes your way. Also, we have MLB DFS picks and stacks in our Discord if you want to take advantage of that. And if you want to hop in there and ask what I would do for the 2-game slate, feel free to do that as well. Hopefully this helps you out. If it does, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and come join us in Discord. Hit the link below this video. All right, thanks for watching and good luck.